The people on live stream are having a much easier time than you are because they don't have this. Let's go ahead and get started. So no, we don't want you to move the seats from table to table. We really want it scrambled so that we have some faculty at each table, staff at each table, and we want those others at other tables too. And students, so find a chair that has, I think Bob, you're another. There's another. Who else is wandering? Somebody's looking for a staff. Who has a staff seat that's open? Here's a staff seat open over here. Okay. Okay. Well, welcome. We have about 100 people registered for this. We are live streaming it out to AV, so hi AV people. And for the AV people or anybody on the live stream, use the Twitter link that was sent in an earlier email if you have questions that you want to ask as we talk more globally away from the tables. But we're going to do a lot of table work. That's why we scrambled people. Are you looking for a faculty seat? Is there a faculty seat somewhere? Okay, there. She found it. So I wanted to just give a brief introduction and then really get to work. This is obviously an important aspect of student success, that we get our advising for our students as great as it possibly can be. And so, we have the graduation initiative for 2025, where we have goals to increase our graduation rates, reduce our retention gaps. Our campus is in pretty good shape in terms of the retention gaps between different demographic groups. So more of our focus has been on trying to work on those graduation rates. You know, our students, we are not going to have 90% of our students graduating in 4 years. Some universities across the country can have that sort of 4-year graduation rate, but that's not what our student population is not the expectations of the president or the chancellor that we hit something like 90%, but we should be doing better than what we are doing. We realize our students have reasons that are out of our control and out of their control that slows them down so that they can't graduate in 4 years or 6 years. So we understand that, but what we're trying to do is take down all the barriers, anything that we're doing that slows them down. And so tries to help them get into their careers as quickly as they can. The studies show that we are going, in California by 2025, we need 1 million more people educated with bachelor's degrees. And so we really need to try and meet that goal for the state. And so this is our part that we're playing in this. The other thing I will say about that is that we also, when they get to that end of that 4 years, 4.5 years, 5 years, we want it to be a quality education. We want them to be prepared for those careers. And we absolutely do a great job of that here. Our faculty, from everything from their research, where students are working with them in the labs, giving them experiences that really are transformative for them and helps them move on into their careers. So we want to make sure that we keep a focus on the quality of what we're doing in the classroom and what we're doing as the students go out the other end and walk across that graduation stage. So when I arrived here, I met with a variety of different groups, and I heard a lot of discussions about advising, and that there were problems here, problems there, challenges here, challenges there. This is what we're doing great. This is where it works well. And there were a lot of challenges that I saw that we had with advising. So now what I'm trying to accomplish this year is for us to have this campus conversation, campus-wide. Let's have a discussion of what should our advising look like into the future. And so I do want us to focus on the future here today. We did the surveys, so we had a lot of comments, and those are all up on the website, and I hope you all have reviewed the surveys. The report, we had an external consultant come out and visit with a variety of groups, got a lot of honest, good feedback. And so that is part of the report that he gave. You will see in his report, he identified recommendations. I want to explicitly state that's his view. He comes in for a day or two and sees this. He's looking at our data and getting that sort of view of the campus, but we're the ones that are here on a daily basis. So we do want to take his advice. He sees advising models and how advising works nationwide, and so he certainly is an expert in that, but we're the experts on this campus. And so I really want to read his report, be thoughtful of his report, and that's what I'm doing. I'm taking all of this information in. I sat in on one of the sessions that he had with the administrative group, the academic affairs leadership group. Other than that, I wasn't in any of the other groups. So I am looking at the notes and seeing what happened there as we move forward for our advising and how we can best structure it and support our students into the future. I will say that I was in a meeting last week where someone said, well, are we going to go through all this and then it will just be the status quo? Well, absolutely not. What we have now is broken. When you read those survey results, more than 2,000 students answered those surveys. There's a lot in there that indicates it's broken. When you meet with each of these different groups and you read the report and the surveys and the comments from everyone from faculty to staff advisors, it's across the boards. There are broken pieces to this, and we can all agree that it's broken and that we need to fix it. And so, no, this is not all just an exercise to talk amongst ourselves, but this is about fixing that and finding a way to make the advising better into the future. So that's the point of all this. I also want to speak to another meeting. Somebody said, so, what's the end game after we're done with campus conversation on Friday? Well, I said, I guarantee you I'm not going to walk out of here and you'll get an email at 5 o'clock that says, okay, here's what we're doing with advising now. That's not at all. I see this as a process, and this is one of the pieces of the process. So we're all going to take in this information that we get today. We're going to listen to the discussions we have at our table. We'll do some reporting back out to the larger group, and it's all a conversation so that I can hear these discussions and understand where the needs are and where some changes need to be made in order to improve it. So no, I have no preconceived notion of, nothing is predetermined. It really is about trying to open our minds and say what would be best for the future, and not focus too much on the details of the past. Of course, you have to be informed by things that didn't work well, but things that did work well. And I will also say that when you try and focus on something that's broken, that we're trying to fix it, what you also have to keep in mind is don't focus all your attention on where the bad is, but look at where the good is too. Because if you take your eyes off what we're doing well and start focusing on what we're not doing well, then what you're doing well is going to start to erode. So there's a lot of what we do that we're doing very well. And I will end these comments by saying the thing that we are doing best, better than I have seen any other university do, is that all of you, staff and faculty, care about these students and their success. I've never been at a place where I feel the heart of everyone in meetings focused on the students. So we have students at your tables too, so they certainly are going to have input and in the discussions, and so it really is about the students, and I feel that in every meeting I'm in. If someone's passionate about something in a meeting, it's because they're concerned about the students. So I'm very, if that's the platform we're starting with, then that's a great platform. That the basis is that everybody cares about the students and helping them succeed. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we are, let me go back. Okay, that's good. There we go, meeting goals. So, what the meeting goals are for today is to reach a consensus on some of the important issues that we have and that we see in advising. So I want to create a campus advising philosophy I want us to think about, suggest a campus model for advising, what we might change in the current model that we have. And I do want us to come up with what are the roles and responsibilities. It's certainly one of the things I've heard is for us to understand what is the role of a staff advisor, what is the role of a faculty advisor, and so forth. So we are going to be discussing the way forward, an advising revival outline, if you will, at the end, is the end game, that we're going to have this statement of what is advising on this campus that will be visible, that we can put it on a website, and that we can direct students to. So one of the things you hear from students is they don't know where to go for this and that, and they have 4 advisors, and what do I do? And so I want it to be very clear for the students where they go for advising. So this is what we're going to do today. We're going to engage in some discussions surrounding all of that. So I want some ground rules set. And the ground rules are, you have to sit on the colored page that designates who you are. You don't have to sit on it, you can put it up on the table now. I told somebody, you don't realize it, but on the back side, we're going to tape it to your back, and on the back side it says, kick me. But so no, put them up on the table, you don't have to worry about actually sitting on them. But I want this to be an honest discussion. I want you to be able to feel free to talk at your table about what you see the issues are, what the challenges are. And I want everyone to feel welcomed, to feel respected. You are a mixed bag at each table, and so the voice of everyone should be able to be heard and respected. And so we intentionally have scrambled it so that we would have those mixed people at each table. I will need to have a facilitator, and I'll turn you loose here in a couple minutes to decide this. The role, what we need done, it doesn't have to all be the same person, but we need somebody to coordinate the conversation and to make sure that every voice is getting heard. And so if someone's not getting called on, and you can raise your hand, set up a civil discourse sort of process at your table. We also need somebody, though, to take notes. And if that needs to be somebody different or wants to be somebody different at your table than the current facilitator, then you can split up those duties. And so speakers lists need to be maintained so that people get to take turns. I don't want one person to dominate the conversation. I want it to be able to have everyone have their voice. So raise your hand to do that, to have the conversations work well at their tables. Can we all agree to that as the ground rules? Okay. Now, I see some tables that only have like 3 or 2 people on them. So I want to get people at bigger tables. So who are you missing at this table? A staff, an advisor, okay. An other, a student. Is there a student somewhere that's at a table that doesn't have many people at it? Okay. Faust, are you able to get there? Okay. There's a table in there that only has 3 people. You've got a student. What else do you need at your table? A faculty? Is there somebody that has a faculty with 2 people? Thank you. What else do you need at that table? Staff? Yeah, John, why don't you go there then? That one right there that only has 4 people right in front of you. Okay, now does everybody have at least 4 or 5 people at their tables? Is there any other short table? Okay. Table 13. June, what do you need at your table? You only have 3 people? Oh, somebody just stepped up. June, do you have a full table, you say? Okay. Is that a staff position over there, or what is that? What do you have, Leora, at your table? Okay, June, can you come up to table 6? And who else is at that table? What are you? Yeah, staff. Anybody raise their hand if you got an opening for a staff? Okay. You still don't have a student. Is there a table that has 2 students or more? Who has more than 1 student at their table? Laurie, can you send a student over to table 2? Okay, thank you. Melissa, what do you need? You need a student. 12 needs a student and 8 needs a student? Okay, so do we have an extra student to go around? Okay. Okay, so every table that does not have a student, hold up your student sign. Now, are there any more students in the room that can go from one table to next? Okay. Okay, we're going to have to make do with it then. Yeah. And if students come in late because they're in class, we'll send them to the empty tables. Okay. Thank you all. So now I would like for you to take a few minutes to identify who your facilitator is, who's going to take notes, and so that we can get ready on our first task. Okay, so that'll be good. We'll do it and come over here off the tables. Good, thank you. Okay, we'll come back now, and I hope at AV you were able to get a facilitator down there for your table too. Okay, let's come back to the group now. So the first task, the first discussion point that I want you to focus on at your table, the first discussion point that I want you to talk about at your table is creating a campus advising philosophy, a mission, vision, philosophy of academic advising. What does the campus believe about the role and importance of academic advising? We need to have a written advising philosophy easily accessible to all constituents, and our campus needs a mission, vision statement to serve as a guide to the future of advising. So use your yellow packet and review other university advising mission statements on the Creating Advising Mission Statements worksheet. Everybody see that in the yellow packet? And use the worksheet then to identify the elements of a mission statement for CSUB, and the table facilitator is going to report that out at the end. I'm going to give you 20 minutes for this, and you're going to report out, the facilitator is going to report out the themes from the table. I don't want all the details. That's what the written comments are going to be, your notes are going to be for us to refer to later. We just want the common themes for facilitators to report that back. So we've got 20 minutes. What time is it now? I can't see that clock.
1:23.
Oh, thank you. So 1:23, so 1:43 we'll reconvene. Antelope Valley, we're trying to figure out how to get the information down to you. Is Randy Schultz in the room? Please text me, Randy, if you are. Okay, thank you. Thanks. I'll give you a couple minutes to close up.
We're going to come around and collect them.
Okay, let's go ahead and come back to the group. So what I'd like to do is go around to the tables, have the facilitators, just to hit some of the themes, and maybe one or two themes that might have come out of your table discussion. We're not, it's not about give me the wordsmithing of getting this perfect. So what's the theme that you were sort of talking about, and one of the themes that was revolving around your table? I'm going to start with table 7. Where's table 7? Of course, I picked one across the room from you, sorry.
Who was it, John? Who was our facilitator? All right, here you go, Doris. Stand up.
Just a theme, Doris. A theme of something you talked about.
Well, we actually got our mission statement written.
Oh, okay.
We went with really short, and I didn't get it exactly, so if you do have it written down. We facilitate dreams, and we do this to assist in academic planning to facilitate graduation. It sounded better when he said it.
Very good. Very good. Let's go with table 8. I'll just go through the numbers, straight through the numbers.
Okay, so our main theme was that students work collaboratively with faculty and staff to determine academic, career, and personal goals.
Okay, good.
Oh, that through collaboration with both faculty and staff, students will be able to set academic, career, and personal goals.
Okay. How about table 9?
Okay. All right.
We don't have our statement yet, per se, but some of the key things that we focused on were accessibility and working in an encouraging atmosphere. So this is coming from our students' mouth that just having accessible advisors is key. So we're trying to focus on putting something together. CSUB Advising is committed to offering excellent academic advising in order to assist students with strategies to graduate in a timely manner, but then throwing in accessibility and an encouraging atmosphere.
Okay. What table number am I now? 10?
10 or 5? Okay.
So we started out with one philosophy statement of helping students meet career and educational goals, and then it evolved into a discussion about how-to and roles, and basically an advisor helps educate the student on the university resources and how to navigate those to their advantage to meet those goals.
Okay. You want to just go next door? Yeah.
So our table came up with a concept called the academic Sherpa. So essentially, think about a little bit more to that is, understand each student to help them connect to what they need at the right time to help them get where they want to go, right? That's essentially what it is. Yeah.
Okay, next.
So this is probably what the mission statement will be, just so you know. No brag, just fact. The mission of advising is to empower students to become the authors of their own destinies. Faculty and staff advisors support this mission by providing consistent, accurate information, as well as serving as a resource for students to help foster their sense of inclusion and to promote excellence.
Thank you for not dropping it.
Okay, next, another table.
Pick a cross.
And we'll get AV. Randy's going to call me so that he can give me the AVs.
Although Mary said we're done and we're all ready to leave, I guess we're really not. We came up with a couple of themes that really popped for us, partly at the behest of our student at our table. We talked about the importance of engaging the student in that conversation. It's a conversation, it's not a directive. So that also related to what some of the advisors said about it. What advising is more than just helping students figure out what their schedule is for the next term. So we talked a lot about those things. We also talked a lot, and it's in each of these mission statements, and it's also been a conversation with the advising leadership team, the importance of students becoming responsible for their own educational and career paths. And what Deborah said was something about, get them to the point where they don't need us anymore. So, and then we also talked of, one of the things that we really liked was in the Chico statement about helping students to transition to and find a place in the university, which seems especially important with our first generation students. And then we also talked about, while all this is great, they need to graduate. So, we were talking about doing some intrusive advising, and Deborah was talking about students who just need one class. So we want to do all these things, but we also want them to graduate.
Okay, now we'll get Randy. Go ahead, Randy.
Okay, we're on a bit of a delay, so I'm going to have to mute.
Talk louder.
Okay. So, we liked Mary's statement. No, I'm kidding. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, keep talking loud, though.
Okay, I'll talk real loud. We kind of looked through what was already kind of presented to us, and we came up with some of the pieces that we really liked. Understanding the decision-making process, engaging in academic planning, building towards self-reliance, that the advisors serve as the experts in the field so that the students have a place to go to for that expertise, the kind of adapting readily to the changing environment, because as much as we get everything in place, it constantly changes, and it constantly changes for our students. But it's more than just planning for a schedule for the next term. So a lot of what people have also mentioned, we feel the same way.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll hang up, and you can call back for the next one when we get to it. Okay, next, what other table needs to report out? Who needs a faculty person at your table? Raise your hand if you don't have a faculty person there.
Oh, you guys?
Okay, that's good.
Okay, we kind of got hung up on trying to define timing in terms of, whose timing are we talking about and all of that. So, but one thing that I think most of us did like is this idea of this integrated array of effective advising services. So it's not just one person, so it's an array of it, and providing an array of services. And I think that's important. And obviously towards the goal of getting students to graduate without putting a time factor on it. And Provost is probably not getting them educated. Thank you, Joe. And this idea of course, including coursework, policies, procedures, and all of that, but also transferring the responsibility onto the students in terms of taking ownership of the path that they want to go on and how to get there. And the role of advising should be to remove barriers from that path, not direct them on a certain path or do this, because everybody has a different path, but to remove the barriers and through an integrated array of effective academic advising services. And I think that's what we kind of agreed on, is that it's an array, it's not just one individual or a few individuals.
Okay, who hasn't reported? Another table to say?
Paper. You want to turn it? Oh.
Kind of in the back of the room, Vernon. Vernon's getting his steps today.
Okay, so we had a lively discussion at our table with regards to advising, but we didn't come up with a statement, but here are some of the points that we did come up with. Advising should make the student an independent thinker. It should address personal and career goals. It should provide an integrated array of services where there are defined roles for staff and faculty advisors so that the advisors can provide students the correct information so that they can actually graduate. And then as an aside, we should provide staff and faculty with training on advising.
Training, yeah, I think that's the first that's mentioned that.
And so our table did actually come up with a mission statement, and we wrote, provide educational guidance for student access, experience, and success in career and in life. As far as some themes from the advisors around our table, we also did notice putting the responsibility on the student to come and ask questions, find help, learn where to go, and yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Another table that hasn't reported yet?
That's it.
Okay.
We also had a very lively discussion. After reading the examples on the other side, everybody agreed that we would like a mission statement that was short, to the point, and easily understood. Not good for sleeping, but for reading. In general, kind of starting off with talking about advising and educational plans, that we would like them to be accurate, clear, consistent, and timely. That students should be able also to maybe be able to project out, thinking about future semesters, what may be available, and having that as part of in making their own plans, that we'd like this to be more of a conversation with students whenever they come in, that you're engaging, looking at their short-term and long-term goals, and in trying to empower them to take some ownership of their academic plans, to make it kind of more part of who they are. I would say that that's most of what we came up with.
Kind of sounds what they were talking about over there, too.
Hello. So some of the things we talked about, we wanted to help students establish themselves at the university, so helping them take responsibility, being proactive for their education and involvement. But we also wanted them to understand some of the hidden curriculum that they might not know about, so being advocates for student success, while also giving them tools for success, so knowing where to go and what to do and what is expected of them.
Okay, anybody else? Did we get everybody to report what their discussions were? Okay, so, I think we even heard common themes among the tables and from the AV campus as well. So we are going to collect these, and that will be sort of the body of work for us as we work towards developing what that mission statement is. Okay? I want to move on to the second topic, and that is suggesting an organizational model for advising. Okay, so the questions to consider here is, when selecting an advising model, how does CSUB's enrollment and size affect its advising model? How does the academic advising relate to the mission? What's the composition of the student body, and what are their special needs as they relate to advising? So what do our specific students need? So when we look at organizing models for advising, there are self-contained models, faculty-only models, split models that you see, and other models. And so that's what I want you to talk about. At your table on the blue packet now, answer the guide questions on suggesting an organizational model. Complete the guide questions on the worksheet, and after the guide questions, make a recommendation on the organizing model for advising. And at the end, we're going to ask the facilitator to take a vote at their table of I'm not suggesting that the whole table has to come to agreement on this is model A. I'm saying if you have 3 models that 3 different people like, that's what I want to hear a vote at the end. Well, we had 2 people who like Model 1, 2 people like Model 2, 2 people like Model 3. Okay, that's what I want out of the facilitator at the end. I'm not expecting you to come to a conclusion that everybody unanimously agrees with at the end of our time here on this. So, I'll give you 20 minutes on that.
So there's 3 models. You can add your own, self-contained, faculty only, and split. You can work through the guide questions to help you get to a point where you say, oh, I think this one is the best one for our class. After you find one, within its alley, what you believe at your table, how many people believe we should be in self-contained, how many people believe we should be faculty only, so on and so forth. But it's alley, all of those. How would you say we're split now? It's your determination.
Okay, this is your 2-minute warning. Okay, let's come back to the group now. Finish up your comments and your tallies. We will be collecting the tally sheets. We will collect those. I'm not going to have you vote or show your votes here collectively. But what I would like to is go around to some tables and tell us what the discussion points were. If you had a unanimous vote that said, yes, we decided this is the one we want, you could certainly report that. But if you can report out on what your discussion points were from your group. Okay. Table 4 is ready to go, huh?
I know. I saw them.
Okay, here we go.
They wanted me to talk first. Okay, so we had a really great discussion. We talked about quite a variety of things, but we talked a lot about how the large size of CSUB and how we're growing really means that we think that a totally centralized model where we just have an advising center where all the advising happens isn't really realistic. It's not so sustainable. And it also really doesn't account for the different types of expertise that the students need that different people in this room have. So some of the advisors were talking about the way they think of the difference between faculty and staff advisors is that those faculty those are mentors. You know, that's the person who's going to tell the student, you know, you really need to take this class before you do that internship, or we really need to get you in these 3 classes in this order to get you into grad school, or if this is the job you're wanting, this is the kind of pattern we need to see in your courses. Whereas the staff advisors, they're really there to support. They're the ones who know GE. They're the ones who are keeping in mind things like residency requirements. And they can really help the students navigate those policies, all those different university things that they really have their fingers on the pulse of that kind of stuff. So we also were noting, and this is not meant to be critical of faculty, but you know, faculty aren't always as aware of all those university policies and stuff because they have a lot of other things going on in their brains. So that's where the staff advisors are really helpful. Regardless of the model, and we sort of are liking the split model, but Ben wants to call it a hybrid model, and we liked that. But we were thinking that in a hybrid or split model that we really need to make sure that there's great communication between everybody who's doing this advising, between those staff advisors and those faculty advisors. And so one of the things that we also talked about is that because we're so big and we want to avoid, I was telling them all about when the consultant was here in the session that I went to, he sort of had us answering questions about, so a student starts as, for example, an English major, who do they go to for advising? And then what happens? And then what happens? And he said, and now they're going to change their major. And then what happens? Where do they go? And by the time he got to now they're going to graduate, this imaginary student had seen 12 different people. So we were talking about how, you know, the bigger we get, the more likely that kind of thing is to happen. So how do we avoid that? Because that just frustrates students and prevents them from feeling successful. And so how do we prevent that? So we were talking about, you know, a hybrid model where we have some of those other services, for example, probation in the school centers. So we were talking about a hybrid or split model with school centers like we have and pulling some of those things like probation into the schools. Did I leave anything?
Okay, I have some comments from AV that they like the split model with modifications. And as they listen to what Tanya was saying, they agree with that. They like the thumbs up on the hybrid, and communication needs to be part of it. So they echoed a lot of what Tanya had to say. Okay, anybody else?
Thank you, Dr. Harper. So we also went with the split model as unanimous table, but our definition was a more integrated model with extensive exchange between faculty and staff, depending on the student's interests and needs. Some of the things we talked about is that faculty advisors are extremely important when it comes to determining what are students' career goals, what are they possible internships, possible opportunities once they graduate, but as well as when students with the staff, they deal with issues of general education, but also possibly identify specific majors. But with the collaboration between faculty and staff, it's important that students, when they're freshmen and sophomores, hit certain benchmarks in their possible majors. That way, once they become juniors, there isn't issues where they can't take certain major classes because they still haven't done those prereqs. One of the examples we talked about was in criminal justice research methods, is that's a prereq for other courses, and if they have not done that when they hit a junior, they may have issues where they cannot take a full load of classes because they haven't met those prereqs.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. We'll get to you next, Faust.
Hi, we also all went with the split model, and we thought the split model, because it helps excel in meeting unique student needs, and it's the most responsive. And we thought, too, that the set pieces, the staff, the faculty, the specialty, the athletes, the camp, all of those, with a combination varying by school to reflect the student and program needs. And of course, like Tanya said, the key to success in this model is effective communication.
Very good. Faust? Or let's get David first, since you're right there.
We had a real nice discussion as well. As a prerequisite for any model, we would like to see a single DARS or audit report that all supporters can agree on. So regardless of what model is chosen, unless there is a single central record that everyone agrees, including the student, that's my record, these are the classes I've taken, these are the grades I've gotten, and everyone can pull that down, regardless of which person is touching the student in any advising model. If there isn't that single document that goes through well, I think there will be problems. So we were talking about that and the importance of getting to that point. And then we also supported something like a split model, but would like to call it maybe something different, because split, and we love you, Ben, but even hybrid implies like a separation of duties, right? Like you and I don't have to work together well because it's a split model. So we would like something more shared, or a model where we were using the expression handoff, where they're literally perhaps the staff and the faculty member meeting with that student together at the beginning of their freshman year or the beginning of their junior year in the same room, literally, and working together and sharing things and kind of handing off back and forth materials and things to assist with that student. And maybe there's a whole year where the faculty member doesn't see the student, but the staff advisor does, and then vice versa. But it's really a shared model where the student knows that they have both professionals to lean on, a faculty professional and a staff professional at the same time. And then we agree with everything that's been said about the real benefits that a faculty member can give a student, especially in their junior and senior year, with internships, work, things that they may know about happening in the community or happening with their major that would be special and important to pass on. So we're advocating shared or handoff model, or something that sounds a little bit better, like we're all working together.
Okay, Faust and then Anna.
We labeled our model the decentralized split model, where essentially the work is done at that bottom element, which is really at the department level. You know, our faculty, Brandon here from Table 2, said advising is one of the most important things he does, right? So having that first model, the self-contained model, where really faculty aren't as involved, just wouldn't really work at all. Some of the items that we have here is we definitely do need the defined roles between staff and faculty. What are the expectations of what they do? In the advising piece, we have to have clear and consistent communication between these different departmental advisors, staff advisors, faculty advisors, and information all in one place, right? And then we have to make that clearly available to our students. Information on websites, in their portal, in their mobile app, whatever, but it has to be clear and consistent regardless of what that decentralized piece is at that department level.
Okay, and then Anna.
So following up on what a lot of people have already said, and with David's suggestion for kind of branding a new name, we came up here with the joint mentorship model. Which I'd like to throw out there is probably pretty awesome. And it's a lot of the same conversations that other people have been having. One of the things that we split on here a little bit was who would be the primary assigned point of contact. Maureen, who had to leave to go to another meeting, wanted a very clear flow chart. So from the primary point of contact, a student can be referred to A, B, or C, depending on what the question is. But just to kind of echo what everyone's saying, I think it's great that we're communicating here, but we need increased communication generally, because we're highlighting a lot of issues here with kind of how people are sharing information and sharing, as David said, sharing students, the handoff.
Okay, is it Carlo over there and Mary? Oh, and Aaron?
Our table, I think we're having difficulty because I don't think we have an actual definition of advising. We haven't been able to, we keep talking about selecting courses and the main thing we said, is it's a growing institution, over 10,000 students. I mean, size shouldn't matter, because if we're basing things on philosophy, mission, and values, and we really haven't been able to come to an agreement on what the philosophy is. And I mean, this is kind of like having a strategic plan because somebody says you have to have one, and then doing something else because that's what you do. So I think the some of the people here suggested an other model, which would be like faculty mentors and then staff advisors. So again, without having a definition of what advising means, I don't know how we can go forward. And as we tend to do, we'll end up with whatever we're comfortable with, which is what the current model is, which is what our table called the mixed model, where you have islands of self-contained models, islands of faculty only, and then islands of split model. So it's kind of all over the place. And so without having a proper definition of advising, I don't know how much further we can go.
Okay, good point.
I don't think I can stand up. Wait a minute, I can't. So we just wanted to echo what a lot of people have said about, I don't know what the name for it would be, hybrid, split's wrong. What we have right now, it's very interesting. Joe, be quiet. It's what you said is really interesting, because we were going to say we have a split model, but it's broken, but it's not really a split model. It's a number of models that just sort of happened through no one's fault. We're all of goodwill here. So the only thing, and so communication, really important. This idea of some centralized communication system. Thank you. Are you putting words in my mouth now? And then the other, what I wanted to add is, sorry, I'm really tired. I should not be talking. That the suggestion came up that the long lost printed catalog, in order to make students the authors of their destinies, if that could be used as a textbook for first-year seminar, so that so that it's not something, because right now the online version, information is in a number of places, and if you're brand new, you don't know where those places are, and so to help students become involved, having access to a printed catalog was something we wanted to advocate.
Okay, thank you. I think Carlo had something.
So, I mean, I'm just going to be repeating a lot of what has already been said. We also went with what we noted here as the split, but also the other model, where you have both faculty and staff working together, with the big issue there being communication across not just the faculty and the staff, but there's actually communication across the campus. And just to David's point real quick, there is already a document up there which I was actually talking to my table about, but apparently is the great big secret of PeopleSoft. All the students already have a planner available to them, and so everybody should be able to access that.
Great, thank you. Okay, another table over here. You're not allowed to come up with a new name. I'm kidding. If you have a new name, let's add it to the list.
So the advisors and staff at our table, we kind of all agreed on the split model, but I do want to represent the student that was at our table that had to leave. She voted for the self-contained model. And what her comment was, she said that advisors were hired to advise and faculty were hired to teach. And she does not want faculty advising her on things that advisors should be doing. Okay. So I did mention to her that I would represent her and say her opinion, or give her opinion. So
it's a good comment.
But we did vote for the split model.
It was 5-1 or whatever. Another one back in the back, Michael.
We were unanimous in our support for split. And again, very much like the themes that have gone and been discussed, a real emphasis on communication, that the more people you have involved in the process, it seems like the greater opportunities for miscommunication, misunderstandings. And really a lot of our discussion was focused on the software involved, and it seemed like that was a lot of the area of confusion, that we have so many different softwares. Certain individuals have access to that software, others do not. And when there's student contact, that there's some sort of documentation of that is probably going to be an important part as various groups are being involved in this process.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes, so we said the split model as well, but we wanted one point of clarification. We wanted to state that we wanted a liaison to continue between the departments and the advising center to help with that communication.
Well, continue, what do you mean?
So, for example, within SSE advising, currently we have our SSE advising center and we have a liaison. So, for example, kinesiology. Within our advising center, we have one advisor, Karen, who is the department liaison. So
I see.
anything that's going on within our SSE advising center or something that's an update in the general education, she is the point person for kinesiology.
I see.
So it helps
Okay.
with that collaboration too.
It's the communication piece. Anybody else? Okay, well, I will say that I now know what the new title of it's going to be. It's going to be a mixed joint mentorship, decentralized, split, integrated, hybrid, shared handoff model. Or system.
Good one.
I'm just going to say a couple of things there that I heard. So hearing this student's comment over here about not wanting faculty to do advising, I think it comes back to Aaron's definition or his table one's definition. I won't point out Aaron. Table one's definition of what is an advisor and the definition of what, is it a faculty mentor? And then so should we give them different titles? So the faculty are mentors and the staff advisors. That sort of, I think that's all kind of what people are getting at is we need to clarify that. And I think that students then will appreciate that because they will know, that they need to go to their faculty for mentorship and not advising, because for them, maybe advising means what courses, how do I get into course 102 and what does this measle hold mean and those sorts of things. Okay, so, we got the tallies? We collected all those? Okay, so next is... Okay, suggesting, so it really this evolves out of what I think your discussions just were. Suggesting the roles and responsibilities, and Faust, can you send the green packet? Okay, thank you. He already did, Randy, so you should have it. Suggesting roles and responsibilities between faculty advisors and staff advisors. They both have positive contributions. Let's take out the green packet and lead a discussion about roles and responsibilities. Yeah, I know.
Checking on Twitter.
Okay, thank you. So this goes till 3, right? Yeah. So we should let them maybe go until 10 till?
Yeah.
Unless we feel there's a lull and they're really ready to report back for them.
Do you want to leave any time for Q&A? Or do you want to give them till quarter to?
Let's talk, what did we say way forward is?
It's just the outline. That's the last slide.
Okay.
This is the last activity.
Okay, so I can walk through that, but also, just say the notes from this, all this is going to get posted on the website. I'll announce that when that goes out.
Collect all of that, type it up, and have it up on the website. Chris's themes that he did before, that's already up there. The PowerPoint will go up there. Everything from the meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I know. They get in the way of doing our job, don't they? Thanks, Joe.
There was a question that came up at the table as to the green sheets. You can put letters in both squares. It's not intended for you to just look at what your role is to put letters. You're supposed to look at the other role as well and say, this is what I think they do, and this is what I think I do, and to look at the overlap between the two groups. All right. So I just wanted to clarify that. That was a question that came up at the table. I can't believe it's kind of working. I had it.
get the sense of this thing. With our inability to do this green sheet, we're heading back. The way you say that. I wanted to.
Okay, 2-minute warning. Okay, let's close it off and come back to the group now. Okay, do we have anybody that wants to, and we'll keep these brief. I think a lot of comments actually related to this have already been made about whether they're faculty mentors or staff advisors and those sorts of things. But let's make these quick so that we can get out of here before 3 o'clock. But let's, anybody want to share some of the discussion that you were having at your table?
Oh, thank you, Dr. Harper. I didn't see you there. The two ones I would focus on for faculty and staff advisors is the M and N, empower students to take responsibility for their academic success, and N, stay informed of current and changing rules, regulations, and program requirements. I think oftentimes, especially with the Q to S, there's been a lot of changes, and sometimes there hasn't been enough communication, so we are misinformed because we're reverting back to old information that we had. So it's with this conversation, that's really important. Whatever information that is sent out is disseminated to the entire campus community, faculty, staff, students, and even other areas. That way they can be well informed.
Good, good. What else?
So we, of course, saw a lot of overlap. The places where we distinguished was C and D and H for faculty, F, I, and R for staff. And so then in terms of for students, what is their responsibility? We said to seek help, to visit both support systems, as we're referring to faculty and staff advisors, to take accountability and be self-sufficient, because we can plan until our planner is broken, but the students have to meet us at some point and engage.
Okay. And Randy, text me anything you might have.
I added an other to the category, and it was basically responsibility. Whose responsibility is it to maintain the record, essentially the degree audit, and so that it's I think it would help in a number of areas as far as communication between advisors, evaluators, everyone, if there's a central location that everybody goes to and that is updated after things have been changed, so that somebody like me who maybe is missing a staff member and I need to jump in and assist, I can look at that student's record and know where they're at in their program and what they need. So.
Okay.
Yes, and the student can take ownership it helps them to take ownership for their own record.
Yep. Any other comments?
In terms of step 2, the faculty advisors, it depends on the faculty. They do all or none, and some in between. In terms of the staff advisors, everything except for C. So again, it's this idea of what are the roles of the faculty advisors, staff advisors, faculty mentors, staff mentors. So that's where we've been trying to understand what takes place and what should take place. I think they're two different things. But in general, it really, as the comment made earlier, depends on the school, depends on the individual. Some faculty choose to do all and some none and in between. So I don't think there's one model. It's just these sets of models that are just kind of floating around out there.
I'll report from AV. They said they focused on the student piece, take ownership, engage, be proactive, be responsible. However, we, the staff and faculty, need to be aware that there will always be students who are unable or don't know how to do this and need our constant support.
So we focused on the student responsibility part, but one thing we wanted to point out was helping students understand what their responsibility is when it comes to advising. So sometimes they just don't understand what is expected of that or of them, and so making sure that we have clear expectations for them when they come for advising.
So the roles and responsibilities need to include the students' roles and responsibilities too. Got it. Okay, I think we're going to close off so we can get out of here certainly by 3 o'clock. I wanted to talk about then the path forward and what we're going to be doing as we move forward. Yes, in the end, I will be the decision maker on what we're going to do with advising. As you can see, and I hope you have seen, that I definitely want your feedback. I want the consultation from all of the parties involved, and I'll continue that model as I move forward. It is, I'm looking at continued sort of feedback along those lines. So as I said, I don't have a decision here at 5 o'clock today of what I'm going to do by any means. What will happen is the notes and everything from this meeting today will be put up on the website. People will be able to see that. People that couldn't be here will be able to see what the discussions were. But I will be looking for coming up with a plan for how we can get these roles and responsibilities up, how we can move forward with an advising structure and get those things in place. But that is going to come, it's going to take some time because I want to make sure that I've got all the voices in it and I've heard what the concerns are, reading through all those student comments again and just seeing that wherever I see us heading, that it's going to meet the needs of the vast majority of the students that need this. So there'll be more conversations, more. I will not just roll this out in the middle of the night, in the dark of the night. I'm going to have conversations. You may recall when we changed commencement. I went out and I listened to everybody. And in the end, I thought I had the plan, brought back the plan, and I listened again because the plan it will evolve over the next month or two. And so I want you to rest assured I'll continue to listen to what you're saying, this feedback I get today, and the discussion that we have today, so that it is something that we're all vested in and supportive of so that our students can move forward. So thank you all very much for taking your couple hours off on a Friday afternoon to come in and do this. And but you'll get announcements of when it's up on the website, the feedback from this. So thank you very much.